Welcome to the official YouTube channel of J.K. Jones, where listeners can enjoy romance audiobooks for free. Please like and subscribe to stay up to date with the latest releases. This audiobook is protected by copyright law. No part of it may be reproduced, distributed, or transmitted in any form or by any means, including recording or electronic methods, without the prior written consent of the author. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, is purely coincidental. To support ongoing content creation, consider joining the Patreon. Every contribution helps keep the stories alive.
The rodeo didn't end with a bang. It ended in a whisper. One sentence, a scan, and the life I'd built was gone. The fluorescent lights hummed above us, cold and harsh, washing everything in a sterile glow. I stared at the MRI scan on the screen, already knowing what it meant before Dr. Mallory said a word. She didn't sugarcoat it. She didn't have to. "Your knee cartilage is gone," she said flatly. "Shredded, beyond repair. I'm sorry. You'll never ride again. Not professionally, not safely, not even for fun." Each sentence slammed into me like a bronco's kick to the chest. My life, dirt and dust, bulls and blood, the roaring crowd under stadium lights, was over. Just like that. Gone. I stared at the ghostly image on the screen, trying to make sense of the twisted white lines, the jagged shadows of my ruined knee. It didn't look like part of me, but it was. It had been part of everything. "So, that's it?" My voice came out hoarse, strangled. She nodded, eyes too soft for what I needed. "You'll walk? We can help with the pain, do some therapy, but it's not going to be the same. You'll have to find another way forward." Another way forward. Like there was one. To her it was just a career-ending injury. To me, it was a death sentence. The rodeo wasn't a job. It was my blood, my breath, my purpose. Every scar I carried told the story of a life earned the hard way, a life I had loved. I stumbled out into the blazing Montana sun, my boots dragging through the dirt like they suddenly weighed 1,000 pounds. My truck waited in the lot, baking in the heat. It looked ready to go, like I still had somewhere to be. I didn't. I leaned against the door, pressed my forehead to the scorching metal, and let the tears come. My knee was shot. My best friend was dead. My little brother was behind bars, and my mother was drowning in cheap whiskey and bad choices. No money, no future, no home worth going back to. But that's the thing about rock bottom. Eventually, the only place left to go is back. Back to the place I swore I'd never set foot in again. Back to Montana. Back to hell. Chapter 1. Whitney. The wind's got a hell of a bite today, like it's personally offended that we're burying someone with dreams bigger than this dirt town. I stand at the edge of the grave, boots sinking into the cracked earth, watching as Sailor's coffin drops slow into the hole. 6 feet deep for a boy who deserves 600 stories high. I'm holding his hat, real tight, like if I let go, he'll vanish for good, and I'll be left with nothing but memories and a damn sunburn. The hat's beat to hell, creases at the crown, frayed along the rim, looks like it's been through bar fights and broken hearts, which sounds about right. "From ashes to ashes, dust to dust," the pastor drones, all somber and holy, like God himself gives a crap. The people around me mutter their condolences like it's a goddamn potluck line. I can't tell if they're sad, bored, or just annoyed the town diners closed today out of respect. Respect. That's rich. Half these folks wouldn't piss on Sailor if he were on fire last month. But now they care. Now they cry. Now they bring casseroles and wear their Sunday best. Like that makes up for the years they spent pretending he didn't exist. I nod like I'm grateful, like I'm not 1 second from spitting in the dirt and lighting a cigarette right on top of it. But I just keep staring down. At the hole, at the final stop. Sailor had plans. Big ones. Ones that didn't include rotting in a pine box under a sky that never gave him a break. He wanted out. Hell, we both did. But he was the one with the spark. Me? I'm just the one left holding his goddamn hat. The wind kicks up again, cold and mean, like it knows something I don't. Or maybe it just doesn't like me either. That'd make two of us. I turn without a word, leave the grave and the crowd and the pitying glances behind. I need a drink. Or 7. If I'm going to get through this day without setting fire to something, I need whiskey bad enough it burns. Sailor's dead, and I'm still here. Somehow, that feels like the real tragedy. The bar's quieter than usual, which is saying something, seeing as it's usually dead enough to hear a beer fizz, just the way I like it. Dark, dusty, and drowning in regret. Perfect setting for a broken man with a cowboy hat that ain't his. I plant myself on the stool like I own it, even though the crack in the vinyl's trying to chew through my jeans. The bartender, Rick or Mick or some other monosyllabic disappointment, barely glances at me before pouring a shot. He knows the drill. I nod. He nods. Real emotional connection we've got going. The whiskey burns like it's got a grudge. Good. I deserve it. I slam it back, then another. The pain doesn't ease, but it blurs a little at the edges. Like smearing dirt on a wound. It don't heal anything, but it sure as hell distracts. Sailor's gone. Just 19. Kid had eyes like wildfire and a laugh that could shake loose your ribs. Thought he was invincible. Thought we both were. Guess we were both wrong. I stare at the row of bottles like one of them might offer answers. No luck. Just more questions and the slow boil of grief sitting in my chest like a coiled rattlesnake. Sailor had plans. Damn it. Big ones. Big enough to scare the life out of this place. And now he's in the ground while I'm still stuck here, drinking myself stupid and wondering when exactly life decided to start gutting me for sport. I swirl the next shot in the glass, watch the amber liquid catch the light. For a second I see his face in it, bright, grinning, always tugging me toward something better. Yeah, that's the part that hurts the most. He believed in me, even when I didn't. Another drink. This one goes down rougher. Or maybe I'm just tired of pretending it helps. I pull the duffel bag up off the floor. Been packed since the night he died. Guess I knew I wasn't sticking around. Not with his ghost echoing in every cracked sidewalk and every goddamn billboard for Layton's auto repair. Place is poison. Always has been. I toss a few bills on the counter and nod to Rick or Mick. He grunts in return. Beautiful send-off. As I push open the bar door, the wind hits me in the face like a slap from the past. Cold, unforgiving, and full of shit I don't want to deal with, but I'm leaving. I swear it this time. Too bad grief has a way of chaining you to the one place you swore you'd never die in. Small town perfume. I'm standing under a busted streetlight outside the bar, a duffel bag slung over my shoulder like I've got somewhere real to be. My boots scuff the pavement. I light a cigarette with shaking hands and curse the stars for still shining like they don't know any better. Phone buzzes in my pocket. It's always a gamble, that ringtone. Could be a scammer. Could be the universe delivering another kick to the gut. Turns out, it's my sister. I don't even say hello. Just mutter, "What now?" She's crying. Great, that's never a good sign. Between sobs and static, I make out the words, "He's in jail again," and "They said it's real bad this time." My stomach does that slow, nauseating drop, like I just went over a cliff and remembered halfway down, I don't believe in miracles. Which jail? I ask, already knowing the answer'll piss me off. County. They say he beat a guy near to death. Cops broke his collarbone. Ribs too. They're talking about life, Whit. Life. Like it's a sentence and not something you're supposed to live. I let out a bitter laugh. Of course they are. Because God forbid this family ever catches a damn break. My brother's a mess. My sister's barely holding on. And I'm one dead dream away from drinking antifreeze behind the Piggly Wiggly. "You coming home?" she whispers. I look at the bus station across the street. Greyhound sign flickering like it's apologizing for existing. I exhale smoke through my nose and feel the weight of everything pressed down on me, heavy and mean. "Yeah," I say. "Guess I'm not done losing yet." She thanks me like I'm doing something noble. I'm not. I'm just tired of running. Tired of pretending I'm better than the mess that made me. I stub the cigarette out on the brick wall and shoulder my bag. Hell waits at the end of that Greyhound ride. But I'm going anyway. That's the thing about grief. It doesn't come alone. It brings company. The Greyhound coughs me out 2 towns too late and 20 years too early. Nothing's changed. Not the cracked sidewalks. Not the chain-link fences sagging like old men's backs. Not even the smell, hot metal, cigarettes, and the sweet rot of dreams left out too long. I walk the mile to the trailer park with my duffel cutting into my shoulder and a headache thudding behind my eyes. The mailbox still leans to the left like it's drunk. I think about kicking it. I don't. No point in arguing with things that won't hit back. The porch light's flickering when I step up. Looks like a seizure in a socket. I rap my knuckles on the door. 3 short, 1 long. Old habit. Ma used to say it sounded like a cop's knock. Maybe that's why she always answered so fast. The door creaks open and there she is. Ma, in a ratty housecoat and a cigarette, burning low between 2 fingers, like it's holding her together more than the robe is. "Well," she says, squinting at me, "look what the cat dragged in." "Hey, Ma," I say. My voice comes out like sandpaper. "Still using bleach on your hair or just letting the stress do it now?" She snorts, but there's a tired kind of warmth under it. She steps aside, waving me in with a limp hand. "Don't get smart. Leighton's asleep, and he gets mean when he's woken up." Ah, yes, Leighton, my mother's long-term mistake in a tank top. I step inside and the air hits me like a wet slap. Mildew, old bacon grease, and the faint scent of defeat. The carpet squelches under my boots. "Shoes off," Ma says, already settling back on the stained couch beside a half-empty bottle of something brown and budget-friendly. I kick my boots off reluctantly, toes curling in my socks as I cross the floor. I didn't realize mold was part of the decor. She gives me a side eye. "Still got that mouth on you, I see. And you still got Leighton on yours, so I guess we're both making poor choices." He snort from the couch. I look over, and there he is. Leighton, shirtless, belly out, eyes half-lidded as he sips from a beer can like it's Holy Communion. "Ain't this a warm reunion?" he mumbles. "You back to borrow money or just bring more bad luck?" "Neither," I bite. "I'm back because Danny's in jail. Again. Maybe for good this time." Leighton shrugs like my brother's possibly lifelong sentence is the equivalent of burning a grilled cheese. I ain't surprised. Kid always had a temper. "Yeah, well," I snap. "Maybe if someone had given half a damn instead of treating him like a busted tire." "Boys," Ma cuts in, waving a hand between us. "I can't take another fight. Not tonight." I shut my mouth. Barely. My jaw aches from grinding it so tight. Leighton burps and leans back like he's just said something wise. Maybe he finally did something bad enough to keep him locked up. Might be for the best. I turn away before I do something that lands me in a cell next to my brother. The bedroom's still mine, technically. Smells like dust and old cologne. The bed sags in the middle and there's a spider in the corner who looks like she's been paying rent longer than I have. I sit on the edge of the mattress and pull out my phone. Scroll through old numbers. Stop at 1. Clyde. I stare at the name like it's a loaded gun. My thumb hovers. Then I hit call. 1 ring, 2. Then his voice, smug and clipped like always. "Well, well," he says. "Didn't think I'd hear from you again unless I was reading your name in an obituary." "Yeah, well," I mutter. "Guess today's your lucky day." He pauses. "What do you want, Whitney?" I close my eyes, swallow the bile rising in my throat. Danny's in deep. I need help. "You sure you want my help?" His voice softens, dangerously. "Last time you said that, you followed it up with a punch and a restraining order's worth of insults." I laugh bitterly. Guess I'm still full of surprises. Another pause. "I'll be there in the morning," Clyde says. "Don't make me regret it." He hangs up before I can thank him. Typical. I stare at the cracked ceiling, listening to the low buzz of Leighton's snoring and Ma's TV set playing some soap she's seen 1,000 times. Welcome home, Whit. Hell's right where you left it. I remember when Clyde left me. It was around the end of high school, right when he got into Harvard Law and his future started shining like new money under fluorescent lights. "We just don't fit," he'd said, calm as anything, like he wasn't ripping my whole goddamn world apart with those 4 little words. I knew it wasn't really about me. Not completely. It was his family. Always them. They were like a goddamn cult. Polished, pressed. The kind of people who drink wine and smile with their teeth when they hate you. They wanted him with someone better. Someone like Debbie, the mayor's daughter, all pearl earrings and summer church dresses. Not low-down, dirty, trailer trash like me. He didn't even fight it. Just walked away, like I was something he could leave behind in the dirt and dust of this town. If it wasn't for Danny, I'd never let him in. Never let him know how much him leaving had shredding my insides. Clyde was all kinds of wrong, and it was my goal to never let him back into my life. The station is quiet, that ugly yellow overhead buzzing like it's trying to stay awake. I sit on one of the cold plastic chairs, arms crossed, boots tapping. The kind of nervous rhythm you don't admit is nervous. Then the door creaks. I look up, and there he is, Clyde goddamn McAllister, in his tailored charcoal suit, sleeves pushed just enough to show the shine of his watch. Hair still neat, short, controlled, like everything else in his life. The only thing he lets get messy is that godforsaken smirk. "Well," he says, stepping inside like he owns the place, "you look like crap." I snort, still charming as ever. He walks over slowly, like he's savoring it, like seeing me like this makes his day. Didn't expect the greeting party to smell like whiskey and resentment. I rise to my feet. Bad idea. He's still taller than me by just enough to piss me off. "What did you expect?" I snap. "Balloons? Confetti? Sorry, I ran out of reasons to pretend you were welcome." Clyde steps in closer. Too close. I can smell his cologne, something expensive and cold, like rain on concrete. "You called me," he says. "Don't act like I showed up uninvited." "Yeah, well," I mutter, "I didn't think you'd actually come." His jaw ticks. There's that crack, the first little sign his armor isn't bulletproof. "Where's Danny?" he asks, shifting into business mode, voice flat. But his eyes? They're still all over me. Hungry. Or maybe I'm imagining that part. "Back holding. Busted up bad. He won't talk to no one but me." Clyde's quiet for a second. His gaze drops to my mouth, just for a flash, then snaps away like it burned him. "You still pick fights with guys twice your size?" he asks. "You still think you're too good to bleed?" He exhales sharply through his nose. "Still got that sharp tongue, I see." "Yeah, and you still got that stick up your ass," I say, stepping closer, chest brushing his. "How's Harvard? Do they teach you how to break hearts better up there? Or did you come out the womb with that talent?" For a second, just one, everything stills. His mouth opens like he's going to say something, apologize, maybe, or kiss me. Instead, he says, "You think this is hard for you? I spent years cleaning up your family's messes behind the scenes, so you didn't end up in the system next to your brother." I flinch. Shouldn't, but I do. "Oh, and you never asked," he adds. "Not once. You were too busy hating me to see I never really left." "You left," I whisper. It comes out rough, raw. "You left me." Clyde doesn't answer, just looks at me like I'm a puzzle he's still trying to solve and getting pissed he can't. Then, slowly, deliberately, he steps forward again, close enough that the heat of him seeps through my shirt. His hand grazes my shoulder, warm, solid. I jerk back. "I'm fine. I don't need your pity." "Funny," Clyde says, his voice low, "'cause I wasn't offering that." We stand there, heartbeats pounding like thunder, and for a moment I think he's going to reach for me again. Maybe I want him to. Maybe I don't. The cop behind the desk clears his throat. We both step back like we've been caught doing something we shouldn't. Clyde adjusts his cuffs, straightens his spine. "Let's go see your brother." But I can't move yet. My knees feel like they've been knocked loose. All I can do is watch him walk ahead, all clean lines and rigid confidence, and feel the old ache settle back into my chest like it never left. And somehow, I know this is just the beginning. God, I could kill for a smoke. One of those rough gas station menthols I keep crushed in the glove box of a car that don't run no more. But the look on Clyde's face says I'll need something stronger, maybe gasoline and a match. We step out of the station into the dead quiet of early evening. Sky's all bruised over the horizon, like it's holding back a storm. Figures. Just my luck. Clyde's walking stiff beside me, suit jacket slung over one shoulder, jaw clenched like it's about to crack. I let the silence sit a moment, let it stretch out like an old scar. Then I say, "So, gonna keep brooding like a tortured preacher, or are you gonna tell me what the hell's going on?" He stops walking, dead in his tracks. I pause too, turn to face him. The wind cuts through my thin flannel, but it's nothing compared to the chill in his eyes. "It's bad," he says finally, like a surgeon delivering a death sentence. "No kidding. He's in jail." "No," Clyde snaps, stepping closer. "Whit, your brother didn't just get in a bar fight this time. He damn near killed a guy. Compound fracture to the skull, broken orbital bone, internal bleeding. The DA's pushing for attempted murder." I blink. The words slam into me like a freight train, and I stagger back a step, not sure if it's from the news or the way he said "Whit" like he still owns the right. He keeps going, relentless. It was on camera, surveillance footage. He didn't stop, just kept swinging. Paramedics said the guy flatlined twice on the way to the hospital. Jesus. I run a hand down my face, try to steady my breathing, but my chest is buzzing like a goddamn beehive. "They're offering a plea," Clyde adds. 15 years, maybe 10 with good behavior. 10 years? My voice cracks. Danny's 19. Clyde just looks at me, eyes heavy, full of things he won't say. I laugh. It comes out sharp, bitter, and way too loud for the empty street. What the hell happened to him, huh? He used to cry when we hit deer on the highway. "He's scared," Clyde says. "Cornered. Your mom's been out of it for months. Leighton's a joke. You left." That lands deep, ugly, and true. "I had to," I mutter, throat tight. "I couldn't stay." "No," Clyde says, and there's heat in it now, simmering low. "But he needed you anyway." We're both quiet again. Cars pass, slow and disinterested. Somewhere a dog barks and the world keeps turning like it don't care who it spits out. "I don't have 10 years to wait," I say finally. "We gotta fight this." "You want me to fight it?" Clyde asks, eyes narrow. "Like old times?" "I want you to help me," I snap. "Not pity me, not preach. Just do what you do best. Fix things." He sighs, scrubs a hand through his hair, then pulls out his phone and starts scrolling through contacts. "You got anywhere to stay?" he asks. "Yeah," I lie, even though we both know I'll be sleeping in my truck again if Leighton's still on his binge. Clyde doesn't call me out on it. He just glances at me, sighs again, and mutters, "Of course you don't." I stare at him. "What's that mean?" "It means," he says, "you're crashing at my place tonight." I blink. The hell I am. "You want me to take Danny's case? You're coming with me." "I didn't realize it came with strings." "Everything comes with strings," he says, stepping close enough I can see the gold flecks in his eyes. "And you and me? We never cut ours." For a second, just one, I want to lean into that warmth, that old fire we never put out. But I don't. I scoff, break eye contact, and say, "Fine, but I'm not sleeping on your couch." He smirks. "Who said anything about the couch?" My cheeks burn, but I keep my voice dry. "Still smug as shit, huh?" "Still can't resist me, though." He turns, starts walking to his fancy car. And like a goddamn idiot, I follow. The smoke I wanted? Gone. What I need now? Might be the one man who already broke me once. And God help me, I'm not sure I'll survive a second round. Clyde's car beeps open, sleek and smug like the man himself. He pops the trunk for my duffel, and I toss it in without a word. We're halfway to the doors when I stop. 2 lights blink in the distance, faint, white, like stars low on the horizon. I squint. There's something off about them. Too close together, too still. "Whit?" Clyde calls, already at the steps. I barely turn my head. Then the world explodes. A shape tears out of the bushes with a guttural snarl. Fast, low to the ground, a flash of matted fur and yellow teeth. A damn bobcat, or something close enough to one, charging like it's been starved for blood. I flinch, heart slamming into my ribs. God damn it! Claws rake the gravel where I'd been a second before. The thing's eyes catch the porch light, burning gold. Clyde's shouting. I don't hear the words. All I see are fangs and the hellfire coming straight for me. Chapter 2. Whitney. The night had teeth. Fog curled around the rust-bitten trucks lining the gravel lot, the wind sharp and strange, like something was watching. My boots crunched on dead pine needles as I followed Clyde, who hadn't said a damn word since we parked. The air felt too still, too tense. My fingers itched for something solid, something real, and all I had was this storm inside my chest. Then a low growl split the silence. A blur of tan muscle lunged from the shadows, snarling, claws extended. A mountain lion, huge, too close. I didn't think. I dove, hit the gravel hard. Pain lit up my ribs. Gravel tore my palm open. Clyde didn't move fast. He moved inhuman. One breath he was Clyde, tall, rigid, always too calm for his own good, and the next he was shattering, flesh split open, bones cracked, stretched. His scream warped into a war horse's bellow. In his place stood a white stallion, not just white, blinding, like lightning had taken the shape of muscle and hooves, eyes glowing like embers, steam pouring from flared nostrils. The mountain lion collided with him mid-shift, claws raking down the stallion's back. Deep. Blood sprayed across the gravel, dark and hot. I choked on a scream, frozen, my knees knocked together, body refusing to move. This isn't real. This isn't... But the stallion reared up, shrieking fury, muscles bunched beneath a coat already soaked in red. With a scream that echoed off the trees, the horse kicked. Hard. The mountain lion flew. Its body slammed into a pine trunk with a sound like snapping kindling. It crumpled, dazed, but the stallion didn't stop. It charged, hooves pounding like war drums, and when it reached the predator, it stomped. Once, twice, 3 times. The lion's skull caved like a watermelon under a sledgehammer. I gagged. Blood misted the air. And just like that, the white stallion staggered back, legs trembling, breathing ragged, before collapsing to its knees. Then bones snapped, fur twisted, and Clyde was there again, in his birthday suit, covered in blood and gore, and breathing like a man who'd just outrun hell. "A scout," Clyde spits, breath ragged. Blood slicks his chest, dripping from the long gashes the mountain lion left down his back. I stare, frozen. The shredded corpse of the cat lies twisted a few feet away, steam rising off it in the cold night air. Clyde towers in front of me, bare, smeared with blood and dirt, eyes glowing like fire caught in a storm. He was a damn horse. I watched him shift. A metallic taste fills my mouth. My knees knock together, useless. The air smells like copper and wet grass and something wild, wrong. "Whitney," Clyde growls, but I can't stop staring. That's Clyde Evans. The same Clyde who used to flick my ears in the school hallway. The one I'd sneak glances at in the locker room. The one I thought I loved as much as I hated. And now he's standing in front of me, carved from muscle, steaming with fury, soaked in blood, and I can't stop thinking about how goddamn beautiful he is. There isn't much time. More will come. Clyde was bleeding, heavily, but he was ass bare, wet and glorious, and my throat was going dry, remembering the hours I spent in high school worshiping that body. We need to move. Now. "What, Clyde?" He grabbed my bicep, hard, almost wrenching me. "Get in." I stumbled, barely catching myself as he tossed me into the car like I weighed nothing. He slammed the door shut with enough force to shake the frame. "My truck!" I yelled, panic rising. "Forget it," he spat, already rounding the hood, naked as the day he was born, still covered in blood. He jumped into the driver's seat and threw it into reverse. The tires screamed as we lurched back into the night, gravel spraying like shrapnel. My heart's in my throat. Clyde grips the steering wheel like he wants to strangle it, jaw clenched, chest heaving. His muscles ripple with every jolt of the car. That can't be real. That can't be him. A horse. He's a freaking horse. I blink hard. Once, twice. Slap myself. Pinch my arm. Still here. Still bleeding adrenaline. I think I've gone crazy. Silence hangs heavy between us except for the wheezing engine and Clyde's ragged breathing. Finally, I croak, "What the hell was that?" "A scout," he growls, not looking at me. Tigers send mountain lions first to sniff out claimed territory. "And you? What the hell are you, Clyde?" His knuckles go white on the wheel. "I'm what's protecting your damn life right now." My breath catches. I didn't ask for this. He barks a laugh, cold and sharp. "You think I did? You think I wanted to mark you and start a war?" My stomach flips. "Mark me?" He doesn't answer. Suddenly I'm freaking furious. What the hell is going on? Why aren't you telling me? He swerves and I almost knock my head against the glass window. "Where the hell are we going?" "The pack," he snapped. "The what?" I hissed, gripping the handguard for dear life. "Clyde, we should go back. My mom, my brother." "Forget about all of that now." He spat, but his eyes were wild. When he turns to me, they're glowing like bright embers. "I'm sorry, Whitney, but you can never see them again." The words hit like a slap. I blink. "What the hell are you talking about?" Clyde grits his teeth, white-knuckling the wheel. "The second I touched you, marked you, they knew. The bloodlines are strict. I wasn't supposed to be anywhere near you, let alone shift in front of you, let alone—" His voice falters. "Let alone what?" My voice cracks. His jaw ticks. "Let alone want you." The silence after that is brutal. I let out a disbelieving laugh. "So what? I'm cursed now? Contaminated? Tainted by your purebred pony club?" Clyde slams the brakes. Gravel sprays. The truck screeches to a stop in the middle of the dirt road. He turns to me, breathing hard. "They'll come for you, Whitney. Mountain lions. Enforcers. You're human. You don't belong. You saw too much. And because I didn't stop it in time, they'll try to make an example out of both of us." I stare at him. "You mean to tell me there's a whole damn supernatural secret society of horse people, and I'm somehow the problem?" Clyde doesn't blink. "You're not the problem," he says. "You're just mine." The way he says it, it's not romantic. It's a death sentence. We head to the richest part of town, the gated community of Absaroka County. I panic as I stare down at my ripped jeans, the plaid button-up missing a button, my $2 hat, and second-hand shoes, but at least I'm not naked. Not that Clyde seems to care about that stuff. He pulls up to the iron gate, and the guards give him a cool once-over before letting him in without a word. I wipe my clammy palms on my thighs as we roll past rows of glowing lanterns, pristine lawns, and fountains that probably cost more than my childhood home. We pull up to the mansions, plural. Clyde's entire family is waiting. His mother, Meredith, looks too dignified for this time of night, dressed in silk and draped in pearls and diamonds. More are spilling out behind her. So many more. All of them clean-cut, manicured, gleaming with old money and quiet judgment. A community, a secret society that wouldn't even spit on me if I was burning alive in front of them. Someone tosses Clyde a blanket. "We need to go. Now." They all nod like they expected this, like it's already been decided, like they've been preparing for this moment and just needed someone to light the match. "What happened, Alpha?" his father asks. "Alpha?" I balk at the word, the weight behind it, the way his father, Absalom, says it without irony, like Clyde's already stepped into a role I didn't even know existed. "Mountain lions," Clyde says, voice tight. "A scout. More will come. But we should go. Noah is waiting for us. No one hesitates. No one asks questions. They all move at once. Doors opening, bags slung over shoulders, boots pulled on. It's terrifying how seamless they are, like soldiers, like a herd. And I can't breathe. Not just because of what's coming, but because I don't belong here. I never did. And now I've stepped into something ancient and primal and entirely out of my control. Clyde takes my hand. I flinch. You're in this now, Whitney, he says quietly, and there's no turning back. I rip my hand out of his grip. You don't get to say that. Everyone around us is moving like this is war, like they've done this before, but I'm stuck. My feet won't move. My brother's in prison, I snap. My mom's with some drunk asshole named Layton who beats her when she talks back. They need me. I can't just disappear. Clyde's jaw tightens, blood still drying on his chest. If you stay, you'll die. I shove at his chest. I'm not like you. I don't shift into anything. I'm not a horse, Clyde. I can't run. I don't even know what the hell is happening. The others are loading up cars. Meredith is already disappearing into a sleek black SUV. The gates are opening again. Time is running out. Clyde steps in close. You were claimed, Whitney. That makes you a target. You can't go back to the life you had. I shake my head. You didn't ask. You never asked. You just threw me into all this. He meets my eyes. Because if I asked, you'd have said no. And he's right. God damn him, he's right. I stare deep into his dark eyes, tracing the rough black stubble over his chin. Years ago, I would have given anything for him to choose me, for him to be with me. Now that he was, I couldn't stomach it. No, I won't go. You can't make me. Get in the damn car, Whitney, Clyde hissed, because if you don't... He stepped closer, muscles coiled, eyes blazing with something wild and dangerous. If you don't, you won't get another chance. You'll be dead within the hour. I freeze. His words hit harder than a bullet. My breath catches in my throat. Outside, the night feels colder, heavier. Dead? I whisper, heart pounding. By who? Mountain lions, scouts. They don't give warnings twice. His gaze pierced mine. They'll tear you apart to keep the bloodlines pure. And you... I'm not pure, I spit back, anger flaring. I'm just some kid from a broken home who's barely surviving. His jaw clenched. Exactly why you can't stay. This isn't your world anymore, Whitney. You were claimed. You belong to us now, whether you want it or not. I'm shaking, torn between rage and terror. My family, my life, my past, they're already slipping through my fingers like dust. Get in the car. He reaches for me again. This time I don't pull away. I climb inside, the door slamming shut like a final verdict. The engine roars, tires spin, the gates close behind us, and whatever life I thought I had is gone. He doesn't let go of my wrist, not as the road disappears into dirt, not as the night gives way to a listing dawn. We've been driving for hours. I'm slumped in the chair, head resting against the glass, eyes heavy. My back aches, my knee is screaming, but when we finally roll to a stop beside a field full of RVs and grazing horses, it feels like I've stepped into the goddamn Twilight Zone. Clyde kills the engine and climbs out first. I follow, groggy and stiff, the memory of his heat still burned into my skin. The sharp scent of morning dew clings to the grass. I can't tell if I'm awake or dreaming. His mother and father are already waiting, speaking to each other in hushed tones. It's low, guttural, not English. The cadence sounds old, older than anything I've ever heard. Who are you? A clipped voice snaps behind me. I jump, turning fast. She's tall, sharp-eyed, with perfect posture and eyes that skim me like I'm dirt under her boots. Debbie, Clyde's fiancée. The sight of her shouldn't sting, but it does, like a scorpion's prick. Whitney, I stammer, tipping my hat, my ugly, dirty, sweat-stained hat, in her direction. She rolls her eyes. Oh, figured as much. Before I can say a damn thing, she steps aside and gestures lazily. Why don't you wash up in the RV? He rides with me, Clyde interrupts. Everyone freezes, even Debbie. He grabs my wrist again, dragging me over to a large pickup truck parked nearby. Without looking at me, he tosses a bottle of water into my lap. "Drink this." I drink like a man dying, downing the entire bottle in one go. The cold hits my throat hard. "Do you know how to drive stick?" I blink at him. Is that even a question? I snort, wiping my mouth with the back of my hand. "Good. Drive beside me, up front. I need to shift. Things are better in my other form." Shift. The word echoes in my skull as I glance around. The others, people, are starting to move, stretch, pack, and prep. But they aren't just people, are they? These are all shifters. Stallions, horses, mustangs. And I'm the only one here with no hooves, no magic, and no freaking clue. "Wait." My voice cracks. "Where are we going?" Clyde's eyes glow faintly in the lightening sky. "We'll pass through Velmora. We are the Stallions of Clan Orand. Our language is Equine," he says, "but most of us speak Common. We ride north before the tigers find us again." A gust of wind kicked up, hot and dry, stirring the dust at our feet and carrying with it something darker. There was a scent in the air, sharp and feral, and it came from the south. My instincts screamed that it wasn't safe here. Behind us I heard shouting. One of the colts had gone wild, bucking and thrashing, refusing to settle. The herd was nervous. I could feel it in the air, like electricity before a storm. They sensed it too. Something was coming. Ahead of us the road stretched wide and empty, disappearing into the rising dawn like a fuse leading to an unknown explosion. I didn't know what waited on the other end. I only knew we had to go. Then, beside me, Clyde moved. It started with a tremble in his shoulders, then a violent ripple through his spine. Bones cracked and shifted beneath his skin. Muscles contorted. His body stretched, twisted, reshaped. I should have looked away. I should have felt sick. But I didn't. I watched, frozen, as his human form melted away and the white stallion emerged. He stood tall, still, every inch of him honed power and wild beauty. Steam rose from his back in the chill of dawn, his mane rippling like a silver banner in the wind. And then I saw his eyes. They were the same as always, burning gold, unblinking, steady, eyes that had stared me down in locker rooms, that had caught me watching when I thought he didn't notice, eyes that saw too much, eyes that knew me better than I wanted to admit. Somehow, he was still Clyde. The shape had changed, but the soul inside hadn't. He didn't speak, but I didn't need him to. I felt it in my chest, like a silent pull, a thread tightening between us. I grabbed the keys and slid into the truck. My hands trembled on the steering wheel. I told myself not to stall out. Not now. Just drive, Whitney. Because whatever this was, whatever he was, we had crossed into another world, and there was no going back. Chapter 3. Whitney. We finally found a place to park for the night, somewhere off a gravel road surrounded by tall grass and scattered trees. I was beat, dead tired. My shoulders ached from hours behind the wheel, and my head throbbed with too many questions and not enough answers. But the second I parked the car, Clyde tore the door open and practically dragged me out. "Hey, what the... Clyde!" I stumbled after him, breathless and confused. He didn't slow down. His grip on my wrist was like iron, bruising and urgent, his steps determined as he stormed across the packed dirt lot. He yanked open the door of one of the RVs and pulled me inside without a word. The place was quiet. Diamond Sun was warm. It smelled faintly of sage and something, cleaner. Clyde released me, stripped off his ruined shirt, and headed straight for the bathroom. The sound of the shower came on a second later, hard and fast, like he needed to scrub everything off him in a single go. I stood there, stunned. It was clearly his space. Photos lined the edges of the narrow kitchen counter, snapshots of his family, friends, even a few awards pinned to a corkboard above the small table. There was one picture of him at some fancy ceremony, smiling next to his parents like he hadn't just dragged me through a hellscape an hour ago. My throat closed up. He never introduced us, not once, not even when we were dating in high school for 4 damn years. I was the secret boyfriend, the hidden shame. No family dinners, no real meetups, Just hurried kisses behind barn doors and rushed goodbyes in the locker room. When he left for Harvard Law, he didn't even say goodbye. Just vanished, like I'd been a phase, a mistake. And now I was standing in the middle of his life, uninvited. Bitterness rose hot in my throat. I didn't belong here, not in this RV, not in this world. And yet, he dragged me here anyway. Clyde emerged from the bathroom, barely dressed. A thin shirt clung to one shoulder, dripping wet, and his jeans hung low on his hips. My eyes dipped down to the sharp cut of his abdomen, the slope of his narrow waist, and it hurt. It physically hurt to look at him. I had to turn away. I was tired, exhausted, bone deep. "You can sleep in there," he said, nodding to the master bedroom. "I need to speak with the pack." "Whatever." I pushed past him, but his hand shot out and grabbed at my bicep. "Whitney?" Clyde took a deep breath, eyes searching mine. Clyde, are you ready?" Debbie's voice rang through the RV door. His jaw worked. He clenched it, then unclenched it, and dropped my arm. "Yeah, I'll be back." I didn't wait for him to say more. I shouldered past and went straight to bed. My body collapsed onto the mattress, and I was asleep before my head fully hit the pillow. Pain woke me, a sharp stabbing flare in my knee. I groaned, sitting up slowly. The stiffness in my back reminded me of how long I'd been out. The sun was just starting to dip below the horizon, painting the world in amber and gold. I shuffled to the door of the RV and stepped outside, squinting into the fading light. We hadn't moved. The RVs were still parked in the same place as before. My stomach growled, and I realized I hadn't eaten in what felt like forever. I rubbed at my face, sleep still clinging to me, and limped slightly as I walked, my knee throbbing with every step. Then I noticed the faint bruise on my wrist, right where Clyde had grabbed me. It hadn't felt that rough at the time, but now it was unmistakably there, a shadow of a grip, like a ghost of our history. The pack, if that's really what they were, had gathered around a massive bonfire. The flames twisted high into the twilight sky, sparks snapping in the wind. Clyde stood at the center, shirtless again, the light painting gold across his chest and arms. He was speaking, commanding. Everyone listened. Everyone watched him like he was something sacred. The fire danced in his eyes, and I stared at him for a long time, my chest twisting. God, I hated how much I still loved him. I wished I didn't. I wished it was gone. I wished he were gone. "Whitney, isn't it?" a clipped voice said beside me. I turned and saw Meredith, done up like always, which felt out of place in the wild openness around us. She still wore her pearls, her outfit clearly designer, her dark hair smoothed into an elegant bun that hadn't moved an inch. But there was something in her gaze, sharp, prickling, cold and cutting. She looked down her nose at me like I'd tracked mud across her polished floors. And God, it grated on every last nerve I had. "Yeah," I said through clenched teeth. "And you are?" She wrinkled her nose in distaste. "Meredith, Clyde's mother. Starmare, if you will." "Star? What now?" I stared at her, confused. "I assume Clyde hasn't told you much?" "Anything. He hasn't told me anything." I refrained from saying jack shit. "I see." She picked a speck of dirt off her shoulder like it offended her. "We are horse shifters, as you've probably gathered, but it's much more than that. Clyde has, unfortunately, broken one of our most sacred laws, not to reveal ourselves to humans." Her voice soured with annoyance. "The Alpha is referred to as the Orin, the High Stallion. Then there are Starmares, elite protectors of the bloodline, often female. Justin and Frank are Bray Lords, trusted war captains and tacticians," she added, gesturing toward two burly men nearby. "Whitemanes are our elders and spiritual advisors." She nodded toward a few older men sitting beside a large pickup truck, casually sipping beer. "And our Ronmanes, executioners or enforcers," she said, tilting her chin toward Clyde's father. "And finally, we have the Moonbinder." She pointed to Debbie, the mate to the Orin Alpha, often gifted with foresight. The word mate twisted in my gut like a rusty knife. Good to know, I muttered. Everything has an order, a structure, you see, and we must follow it. Then why did he bring me here? I wanted to bite back, but my words got lost as I found myself watching Clyde and Debbie, watching the way she looked up at him, her red hair glowing like wildfire in the dancing light. She was beautiful, stunning even, with wide hips that looked even more voluptuous in her jeans compared to my faded Tommy Hilfiger ones. They're a perfect match in every way, she continued. Now don't you see why humans are a hindrance? Yeah, I see. I'm going to get something to eat, I mumbled, turning away before she could say anything else. I headed over to where they were grilling food. I didn't introduce myself, and nobody asked for my name, but they watched me. All of them. Eyes followed my every move like I didn't belong, like I was something pitiful and strange. I didn't care. As soon as we got to wherever the hell we were going, noble wolf pack? Christ, I'd find my way back to the human realm. She was right. I didn't belong here. There's more food over here if you're interested, Clyde said, coming up behind me. He looked mighty fine in cowboy boots, a wide-brimmed hat, and the front buttons of his shirt undone, collar hanging loose to reveal his chest. I hated looking at him. It was killing me inside to even think about him in any other way. I'm full, thanks, I said, chugging the last of my brewski, the bottle sweating in my hand. Clyde didn't budge. He waited until I looked at him. Walk with me, he said. We need to talk. Alone. I stared at him, jaw tight, throat dry. Part of me wanted to walk away. The other part, it was already moving. Clyde led me away from the crowd, his pace steady but quiet, like he was waiting for something to explode. We walked through the grass, weaving between parked trucks and grazing horses, until the fires and chatter faded into silence behind us. He didn't speak, just walked until we reached a strange rock formation on the edge of the field. It jutted up like jagged teeth from the earth, worn smooth by wind and time. The sun had turned to tangerine, spilling its light across the sky in streaks of orange and gold. I had half a second to take it in, just a breath, a heartbeat, before I was shoved up against the side of the boulder and kissed senseless. I groaned, fisting Clyde's shirt, my breath coming hot and fast as his mouth crashed into mine. Yes, God, yes. The scruff on his face bristled against my skin, scraping rough, demanding, like he didn't care about anything else but devouring me whole. I gasped against his lips, knees going weak, my body sparking alive with every brush of his hands, every press of his mouth. The taste of him brought it all flooding back. Every memory, every late-night call, every whispered promise, every lie. I wanted him. I always wanted him. Clyde meant everything to me in high school. He was everything, until he shattered my heart. I shoved him off, lips stinging, panting hard. What the hell was that? I snapped. Clyde staggered back a step, chest heaving, his eyes still burning with something wild, something desperate. You can't just... I broke off, swiping my arm across my mouth. You can't kiss me like that and expect everything to be okay. I wasn't thinking, he said, rough like gravel. Damn it, Whitney, I can't stand seeing you here and pretending like I don't want yous. I let out a shaky laugh. Yeah? Well, I've been pretending for years, while you ran off to your secret horse cult and left me to rot. His jaw clenched. It wasn't like that. Wasn't it? I took a step toward him now, all the anger I'd swallowed for years bubbling to the surface. You didn't call. You didn't write. You went to Harvard and forgot I existed. I didn't forget. I laughed again, short, cruel. You sure act like it. Clyde looked like he wanted to say something more, maybe even reach for me again, but I stepped back, putting space between us. What the hell is going on? I demanded. You drag me all the way out here, then say I can't leave, and then kiss me like I never wanted to leave you. Clyde responded, and I'm stunned into silence. What? Clyde wiped a hand over his face. Sorry, I meant, this went differently in my head, but, Whitney, you have to know that. I don't care, I said, cutting him off. Just tell me what's going on. Clyde's expression went cold, and he nodded, taking another step back. Yeah, all right. He leaned his back against the boulder and took a deep breath. We're under attack. What? You heard me, Clyde said. The mountain lions won't rest until they take me down. Why? Clyde ran a hand through his thick brown hair, eyes scanning the horizon like he expected something to lunge from the shadows. Because I broke the most sacred rule of our kind, one that dates back thousands of years. I stared at him, heart thudding, mouth dry. What rule? He exhaled. Stallions and lions don't mix, not ever. Our bloodlines, our herds, are enemies from the first breath. We represent order. They represent anarchy. We believe in structure, discipline, inherited wisdom. They believe in might and tearing down anything older than themselves. And every few centuries, when a bloodline grows too strong, too unified, he met my gaze. The mountain lions start hunting again. I shivered. They go after leaders, alphas, and their mates. Wait, you said? I started, but my voice caught. You said they'd kill your mate too? His throat worked. He nodded once. They believe the herd is weakest when its heart is shattered, that killing the Oran's bonded partner destroys the line forever. He looked at me, full of things I didn't want to see. They're not wrong. My stomach turned. So you're saying they came after you because of who you're supposed to be? No. He pushed off the boulder, stepping closer again. They came after me because I rejected my mate. A chill ran down my spine. I was 18, he said quietly, and terrified. I thought if I denied it, ran from it, if I buried it deep enough, it would go away. So I left. It felt like all the breath had been knocked from my lungs. Clyde, I thought I was protecting you, he said, but all I did was paint a bigger target on your back, and now they know. Silence thundered between us. You're in danger, Whitney, he said. This time I can't stop it from coming. What does that even mean? I asked. It means we gotta go. Now, Clyde said. They'll tear us to pieces. We've been safe so far, but Noah from the Noble Wolf Pack called me to join their war council, and with the mountain lions on our tail, it's better if we just leave. That's where we're headed now. And what? I'm supposed to... I threw my hands in the air, exasperated. Just go with you? Forget my entire life and my family and become a part of your pack? Clyde looked at me like I'd asked if grass was optional for cows. Clyde. I'm sorry, Whitney, but at the same time I'm not, he said. I've wanted you, desperately. It's been hell holding myself back, keeping my distance, and now that I have a chance, I'm going to take it. So it doesn't matter what I think. I stared at him in disbelief, my chest tightening like I was being crushed. Not if it comes down to life or death, Clyde replied, because if I had to choose between keeping you alive or watching you die, I'd always choose the former. But, I sputtered, how do they even know I'm your mate? What about Debbie? Isn't she your fiancée? Fiancée? Clyde snorted. Where the hell did you get that idea? I don't know, I stammered. You guys looked cozy. She's my friend, one of my best friends. My mom's the one pushing us to be mates, but that's all, Clyde said, his gaze steady. Is that why you've been distant? I've been distant because I found my ex-boyfriend shapeshift into a 3,000-pound horse. I practically shrieked. Sorry if that put a kink in my trust issues. Clyde blinked, then barked out a laugh. Fair. I looked away, arms crossed tightly over my chest. He stepped closer. Whitney, I'm not asking you to forget your life. I'm asking you to survive. Come with me, please. I didn't answer right away. The wind stirred dust between us, the truck's engine idling, waiting like a held breath. Fine, I muttered, but only because dying sounds like a crap alternative. Clyde grinned. Good enough for me. We walked back to the campfire, but I was more confused than ever. Clyde stiffened the second Debbie came running toward him, her arms wide, face lit up like he had just returned from war. I didn't wait to see what happened next. I turned and went straight into the RV, slamming the door behind me, unwilling to watch them together. What in God's name was Clyde thinking, kissing me like that. And what the hell was I thinking? Kissing him back. Like I had any right. Like I wasn't breaking every line I'd ever drawn in the sand. I groaned and rolled onto my side, tossing an arm over my face. The RV smelled faintly of old leather and engine grease, and the hum of the generator was the only thing keeping the silence from swallowing me whole. That was when I thought of Danny, locked up, sitting in that holding cell, waiting for me to post bail and bring him home, expecting me to be the big brother I should have been before things went to hell. My throat tightened. God, I had failed him. Tears started to burn before I even realized I was crying. I wiped at them roughly, but more came, hot and shameful. What a mess. And I could not see a single way out of it. Danny would rot behind bars. So would my sister. And Mama? She had stopped fighting a long time ago. I used to think I could save them all if I just worked hard enough, just held on tight enough. But maybe Mama was right all along. There ain't no saving for the wicked, she used to say, whenever the truck broke down, or we came home to the lights shut off again. Back then, I never believed her. I thought I could be the difference. I curled tighter on the couch and stared at the RV's wall, my chest hollow and aching. I did not belong here. Not with these people. Not with Clyde. And definitely not in this twisted secret world I never asked to be a part of. I was stuck, and there was no one coming to save me. The RV walls were thin, paper thin. I had barely started to drift off when I heard voices outside, just under the window. I sat up slowly, knees aching, and edged toward the small crack in the glass. The fire had died down some, but the glow was still enough to catch a glimpse of Clyde and Meredith standing just a few feet away. "I told you to stay away from that boy," Meredith hissed. "And I told you I'd rather die," Clyde shot back, just as quiet but fierce enough to shake something loose in me. My breath caught. "He's human," Meredith snapped. "And not just human. He's the wrong kind. Weak, emotional. He will never survive the rites. He doesn't belong in this world, Clyde, and you know it." I pressed my back to the wall, heartbeat thudding like a drum in my chest. "I don't care what the rites say," Clyde said. "I don't care what the Starmares believe. I'm not losing him again. Not now. Not after everything." "He's not one of us," Meredith growled. "Bringing him here has already set off a chain of events we can't control. The clans will rise against you for this. You've marked him, exposed us, and for what? A boy who left you? A boy who doesn't know the first thing about who you are?" There was a long pause. Then Clyde spoke. "You don't know a damn thing about what he means to me." I was frozen, heart in my throat, unsure if I wanted to cry or scream or both. They were talking about me like I was a problem to be solved, like I was a fire Clyde had no business starting. But what cut the deepest was realizing he'd never stop burning for me either. Outside, Meredith's heels clicked against the gravel as she turned. "You'll have to choose, Clyde. Him or your birthright. You can't have both." Silence. Then Clyde's quiet, shattering answer. "Then I choose him."
Chapter 4. The Stallion. My mom's mouth twisted in disgust, and I knew I'd pay for that later, but I didn't care. I was done playing games. I did everything she ever asked. She wanted me to dump Whitney when I got into Harvard, and I did. She wanted me to become a lawyer, and I did. I did everything for this pack, sacrificed every part of myself, and for what? We were still forced to leave our homeland, still forced to seek refuge with the noble wolf pack. Something strange was happening, and all the shifters were mobilizing. A great war was coming, or maybe something worse, something that could bring the entire supernatural world to its knees. "You don't mean that," she whispered. I turned and walked away from the RV, jaw tight, trying to control my temper. Whitney was inside, supposedly sleeping, but I knew he wasn't. He'd heard every word I had been too much of a coward to say since he walked back into my life with that signature swagger, head tilted just a little, his unique gait from that old injury in his leg, and the small scar at the corner of his mouth from when we were fooling around and he got clocked by the barn door, his unwavering love for a family that didn't even deserve a lick of his attention. Whitney had always been too good for them, for this town, for me. I ran a hand down my face, trying to calm the hell down. "You're pent up," my mom hissed behind me. "Just look at you, all out of sorts for some human." "He ain't just some human," I snapped. "He's my mate." She scoffed. "Debbie is your mate, a star mare." "I feel nothing for her," I growled. "She knows it. The whole damn pack knows it. Everyone but you." My voice rose, but I forced myself to grit my teeth and rein it in. "Mom!" "He's not suitable," she said sharply, straightening her spine like she was preparing for battle. "And you'll realize it soon enough." She walked away before I could respond. And as her alpha, I could have punished her for the disrespect. But I let her be. Because Whitney was it for me, human or not. I didn't want anybody else, only him. I stood there for a long moment, staring off into the night, the fire behind me crackling and causing shadows across the field. I could still hear murmurs of the pack, the stirrings of unrest humming low in the air like a brewing storm. Everything was moving too fast, but one thing rang clear. I needed to tell Whitney everything. No more half-truths. No more hiding behind duty or tradition. He deserved to know what was really going on and what he meant to me. He wasn't just a complication or a mistake. He was the only person I wanted beside me. Human or not, he was mine, my mate. That truth settled in my chest like iron, steady and unshakable. We had a long road ahead of us, dangerous, uncertain, but I didn't want to take a single step of it without him. I turned back toward the RV, exhaling hard through my nose as I climbed the steps and closed the door behind me with a soft thud. The interior was dark, quiet, and the hum of the generator low. I kicked off my boots, peeled off my jacket, and padded toward the back. Whitney was lying on his side, curled slightly, facing away from me, but I knew he wasn't asleep. His breathing was too shallow, too alert. Still, I didn't say a word. I climbed into bed beside him, the mattress dipping slightly under my weight. The warmth of him was immediate, familiar, and it made something in my chest ache. He shifted just a little, enough to let me know he felt me there, heard me. But he didn't turn around, and I didn't push him. As soon as my head hit the pillow, the weight of everything finally caught up to me, and I slipped into sleep, with Whitney right beside me, exactly where he belonged. By the time I woke, the sun was already climbing over the horizon, projecting a warm orange glow through the narrow window slats. The bed beside me was empty, still warm, but Whitney was gone. I scrubbed a hand down my face and climbed out of bed, stretching out the soreness in my back before hitting the shower. The water was lukewarm, but it was enough to rinse off the anchor of sleep and the dreams that clung like cobwebs. When I stepped outside, the scent of wood smoke and cooking meat filled the crisp morning air. The pack had gathered around the dying embers of last night's bonfire. Horses grazed lazily nearby, some pawing at the dirt, restless. People were milling about, packing up supplies, rolling up tarps, hitching trailers. And there he was, Whitney. Off to the side, perched on a folding chair with one leg stretched out, beer in hand. His hat tilted low against the sun, a shadow over his eyes. He was quiet, watching everything like an outsider, but he looked settled, calm in that ragged way of his. Still wore the same ugly second-hand boots and that crooked grin like armor. I started toward him, determined to finally say the things I hadn't had the guts to speak aloud. But I only made it halfway before someone stepped into my path. "Kyle," I said, frowning. He gave me a short nod. "Can we talk, Alpha?" Kyle was leaner than most of the other men, but wiry, coiled like a spring. His brown hair was buzzed short on the sides, longer on top, and his eyes were narrowed, like he was always sizing everyone up. There was a scar just above his left eyebrow, faded but jagged, reminding me of one of the first fights we got into as teens during training. "What's going on?" I asked, already bracing for it. "Scouts spotted them," Kyle said. "Mountain lions, near the tree line. Maybe 4, maybe more. They're keeping distance, but it won't last long." My jaw clenched. "How far?" "Too close. Maybe a couple miles out. If they're here, the rest aren't far behind." I swore under my breath and looked back at Whitney, who hadn't noticed us yet. He was still sipping his beer, leg bouncing slightly, probably from pain or nerves or both. "We need to move," Kyle said, nodding toward the trailers. "Now." I gave a tight nod, heart racing. "Tell the pack to prep. We leave in 10. He turned to go, but I held his arm a second longer. "Keep eyes on the flanks. Don't let the herd split." "You got it," he said, already moving. I turned back toward Whitney. I didn't know how much time we had before the mountain lions closed in, but I wasn't leaving without talking to my mate, not this time. I needed to talk to Whitney. I had to. Every second that passed felt like a weight pressing against my ribs. The air around the bonfire was thick with smoke and tension, and the pack's chatter was distant static in my ears. My eyes locked on him immediately, off to the side, sipping a beer, trying to look like he didn't care. But I knew better. He saw me coming and immediately looked away. I didn't care. "I have nothing to say to you," he snapped as I approached. I grabbed his bicep, trying to stop him, trying to make him see me, but he wrenched free like I'd burned him. The whole damn pack was watching now. I could feel it, every set of eyes prickling my skin. "Whitney, when we get to wherever we're going, I'm leaving," he bit out. "Just keep me the hell out of whatever's happening." "Whitney," I said, chest tight, "please, let me explain." He looked at me then, really looked, and the fire in his eyes just stoked the one already tearing me apart inside. "Fine," he said. "You have 10 seconds. He stalked away, heading behind the RV. I followed, helpless to do anything else. That walk, that stubborn tilt of his jaw, the way his shoulder rolled slightly from his old injury, every part of him was seared into my bones, and I'd missed him every day. We rounded the RV, away from everyone, and I reached for him again, ready to pull him in, to show him what I couldn't say. But he stepped back sharply. "Talk, now." I tried to rein myself in. He didn't know what was happening. He didn't know why I kept gravitating toward him like gravity itself bent around his orbit. The urge to mate with him buzzed under my skin, alive, urgent, a living thing in my blood. For horse shifters, it was different. We mated first, bonded later. It wasn't like wolves or lions who marked and courted. Our instincts chose first. We were ruled by older laws, wilder laws, ones carved into stone long before humans walked this land. The way of the stallion. "I came after you?" "What?" Whitney huffed, confused, defensive. "That night I drew in a sharp breath, fists clenched. "That night I left. I turned back. I came to find you, Whitney. I changed my mind." Several emotions flickered across his face: hurt, betrayal, disbelief. His eyes, pale green and full of fire, searched mine like he wanted to find the truth and tear it apart with his bare hands. His jaw was tight, lips pulled into a thin line, and that scar near the corner of his mouth, a leftover from that dumb barn accident when we were just kids, looked harsher under the sunset light. And damn, he was beautiful. Mine, my mate. Everything inside me screamed it. "Whitney, why are you telling me this?" "So that you understand," I stepped forward. "For me, I never stopped. Wanting you, loving you." "I can't do this again," he whispered, voice cracking like a dry branch. "I'm sorry. Find someone else." The words hit me straight in the chest, like a kick from a wild buck. I just stood there, swallowing the ache, staring at him like I couldn't understand why he was turning away. My mate, my only mate. My soul had chosen him, long before I had the words to say it out loud. "Is this 'cause of Danny?" I asked quietly. "Your mama? Your sister?" He said nothing. His silence said everything. "I didn't want to take you away from them," I went on. "I know what they mean to you, but I thought—" I trailed off, helpless. "I thought we'd find a way." "You left," he said, raw and shaking, "and now you're back, and everything's on fire." He wasn't wrong. The way of the Stallion demanded that once a mate was chosen, they were bonded for life. And I had refused it back then, walked away from Whitney, obeying my mother, obeying duty, denying fate. And the universe had punished us both ever since. "Alpha!" My dad's voice rang out from the other side of the RV. "Scouts on the horizon. We gotta move." I cursed under my breath, fists clenched. I didn't want it to end like this. "Get in the truck," I growled, struggling to keep it together. "This isn't over." Whitney turned to me, eyes stormy. "Clyde, it's over." He walked away before I could answer, before I could make him listen. Dust kicked up around the camp like a storm, packmates scrambling to get into their vehicles. The smell of burning wood mixed with exhaust as engines roared to life. But I didn't move. I watched Whitney's retreating back, the plaid shirt clinging to his frame, his shoulders tight. It wasn't over, not for me, not ever. I was pacing by the corral fence, every stomp of my boots kicking up dust. The herd grazed quietly in the distance, unaware of the storm churning inside me. I'd screwed up again, snapped at Whitney when all he was trying to do was help. Hell, he hadn't even said much, just looked at me with those wide, wounded eyes like I'd taken a swing at his heart. "Stop pacing before you wear a hole through the earth," Debbie called from behind me. She was leaning against the post like she'd been there a while, arms crossed and a piece of hay dangling from the side of her mouth. I turned, fuming. "I don't need a lecture right now, Deb." She didn't flinch, just gave me that look, half amused, half disappointed. "Too bad, you're getting one anyway." I sighed and rubbed the back of my neck. "I don't know how to fix this." "Stop barking and yelling at him like he's a child," she snorted. "Do you know what they say? In order to get a man, you've got to stop charging at him like a bull and start luring him like a mare in spring." I blinked. "Debbie, what the hell does that even mean?" She grinned, sharp and knowing. "It means drop the alpha routine. Whitney's been hurt. Not just by you, but by life. He's got no roots, no reason to believe he belongs anywhere, let alone with us. You keep pushing and he'll bolt like a skittish colt." I looked away, jaw clenched, throat tight. I don't want to lose him." "Then stop acting like you already have," she said gently. "You don't need to muscle your way into his heart. You just got to be still enough for him to come to you." She pushed off the post and started walking away, then paused to toss one last thing over her shoulder. "Also, maybe stop snarling every time he breathes." "Wasn't snarling," I muttered. She raised a brow. "You growled at him for asking if you were okay?" He sounded sarcastic. "You're impossible," Debbie sighed. I blinked. "Debbie, what the hell does that even mean?" "Show him," Kyle said, approaching with 2 saddles over his shoulder and reins clinking in his grip. "Don't tell him. Show him he matters here, that he ain't just some human tag-along. If you want him to believe this could be his home, you gotta make it his home." Debbie nodded, pulling her braid tighter. "Actions speak louder than fate marks, Clyde." We were camped at the edge of the ridge, the last strip of sun stretching long across the grass like honey poured over gold. Kyle tossed me a look. "Ready?" "Yeah," I muttered, jaw tight. "Let's ride." We strode out past the fire, away from the engines and the smell of dust and diesel and smoke. The 3 of us moved like a unit, old friends bound by more than blood, more than war. Debbie glanced my way and gave a single nod. Time to shift. Her form shimmered first, the change rippling over her like wind brushing silk. Her body folded inward before expanding out into a sleek, obsidian black mare, elegant and wild-eyed, hooves pawing the ground like thunder trapped in flesh. Her mane shimmered with violet glints in the fading light, tail slicing the air behind her like a whip. Kyle was next, his form rippling with heat as he shifted into a burnt red stallion, darker around the shoulders and muzzle, the color of dried blood and fire, strong, steady. His breath huffed out in clouds as he pawed at the dirt. And then me. The change hit hard, always did, like bones snapping into a new truth. My body stretched, my skin pulled, bones reshaping until I landed hard in the dust, hooves stamping the earth. Pure white, a coat like moonlight on snow. My mane was pale as milk, whipping back in the wind as I exhaled, the breath catching in my chest. We stood together for a second, three creatures bound by old rights and duty. And all I could think about was Whitney. He didn't know it yet, but he was part of this too. He always had been. I'd find a way to make him see that, even if I had to show him in every step, every shift, every breath. I kept my gaze locked on Whitney's truck as we galloped alongside the long stretch of highway. The late afternoon sun was burning low, drenching everything in a gold-drenched haze, but I only had eyes for him. I knew he'd have to stop eventually, he wouldn't say it, but I could see the strain in his posture every time he walked. That leg. Hell, that leg never healed right after the accident, and I knew his rodeo dreams had ended in a mangled wreck of bone and tendon. Another reason why claiming him, mating with him, mattered more than he could ever know. A stallion's bond could heal what human medicine couldn't. It was old magic, deep as the roots of the land we rode. Not just emotional, but physical, muscle, nerve, spirit. It was the only thing in our world that could reverse that kind of damage. I ran faster, my hooves pounding against the cracked earth, muscles flexing under my white coat as I kept pace with the truck. My mane whipped in the wind as dust spiraled around us. And then, his gaze met mine. Whitney's eyes bulged. He was stunned, maybe a little terrified, but I could see the awe flickering just behind the shock. His knuckles tightened on the wheel, but then a smile tugged at his mouth, slow, crooked, and just for me. The same damn smile he'd given me back in high school when we snuck away to the old barn. I nearly stumbled, my stride faltering for a heartbeat before I surged ahead, exhilaration surging in my veins. He gunned the truck, wheels kicking up gravel as he pushed it forward, just a little faster, daring me. I accepted the challenge. With a snort, I picked up speed, muscles burning with the rush of adrenaline, wind tearing through my mane. The pack was behind us, somewhere in the dust, but in that moment, it felt like just the two of us out here, Whitney and me, racing side by side. I didn't shift back. I didn't need to. Let him see me like this, wild, untamed, ancient. Let him remember what I was, what we were. He smiled again, and I knew. He hadn't given up on me completely. Not yet. Chapter 5, The Stallion. We rode hard through dusk, a cloud of dust kicking up behind the convoy. I stayed ahead in my stallion form, pacing Whitney's truck. I could see the flicker of his headlights, and though he didn't say it, I knew he was watching me. Eyes wide, mouth parted just enough like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. I ran like I was chasing time itself, like maybe if I ran fast enough, I could outrun the mess between us. By the time we made camp again, some remote field near the tree line, everyone was bone-tired and quiet. The fire was already crackling, logs split, flames dancing. Most of the pack settled into their usual circles, whispering about scouts, threats, and old mountain lion rivalries. Whitney hadn't spoken a word since we stopped. I saw him sitting on a stump a little ways off from the rest, nursing a beer, his bad knee stretched out stiffly. I'd made my rounds as alpha, checked in with the sentries and the young ones, but I kept looking his way. The whole damn night I kept looking. Eventually, I wandered over, boots crunching over dried grass. I didn't sit right away, just stood across from him, letting the firelight warm my front while the wind cooled the sweat on my neck. You remember when Coach Miller gave us both detention for sneaking into the locker room after hours? Whitney didn't even look up at first. You mean when you tried to scare the freshmen and got us both caught? I grinned. Had to test your loyalty somehow. That what you called loyalty? His mouth twitched. I nearly pissed myself when the lights cut out. We both laughed, short, easy, like our ribs still knew how to ache for the same things. For a second, I let myself look at him full on. Firelight danced in his eyes, catching little flecks of green and gold. His face was harder now, older, leaner, some wear on it. But damn if he wasn't still the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. You always grit your teeth when you rode, I said after a beat, like the bull owed you something. He finally glanced at me. That's 'cause I was mad. Every time I mounted up, I thought about you, thought about how you left and never looked back. That one hit me square in the chest. I did look back, I said, quieter than I meant to. Just not soon enough. Whitney stared into the flames like they held every answer I'd never given him. Doesn't matter now. It does, I said. To me. There was a pause, not awkward, just full, like there was too much history between us to say in one breath. And then he said softer, I remember it all, Clyde. Those 5 words did more damage than any wound ever could. I looked at him, really looked. And there it was, that damn ache. The one that never left. Not when I shifted, not when I ran. Not when I tried to forget him in the arms of women I didn't love. He still had me, still held every piece. And this time, I wasn't going to run. The fire started to burn low. Most of the pack drifted off to their tents or RVs, murmuring about early patrol shifts and travel routes. I lingered by the flames, poking at the embers, hoping Whitney might stay a little longer too. When he finally stood, my gut clenched. I followed him. Not too close, not too far, just enough. He moved past the camp, boots scuffing dry dirt, the hem of his plaid shirt catching in the wind. I followed him toward the tree line, where shadows grew thick and the moonlight cut pale silver streaks across the grass. Whitney, I called. He didn't stop. I picked up my pace, my chest tightening. Wait. He turned just before the pine swallowed him whole. What now? He asked, tired. I ain't trying to make a scene, I said, slowing. Just walk with me. He crossed his arms but didn't move away. We walked in silence for a stretch, the sound of crickets rising between us. It was quiet here, just us and the stars, the firelight flickering faint behind us. You ever think about that old tree behind the high school? I said, half smiling. The one we used to sneak out to during lunch? Whitney snorted. You mean the one you carved our initials into? I was 16 and stupid. You were sweet, he said, surprising me. Back then. I stopped walking. He stopped too. I'm still sweet, I said, stepping closer. Whitney held his ground, but looked up at me, mouth parted. I didn't think, didn't plan. I just moved, like something primal snapped in my chest. I grabbed him by the shirt and kissed him, slow, deep, dirty. He gasped but didn't pull away. My hand slid up the back of his neck, anchoring him to me. His tongue met mine, fierce and slick, and he groaned into my mouth like it hurt to let go. His fingers curled in my collar, pulling me tighter. I was already burning up, so hot I thought I might shift right then and there. The feel of him, the taste of whiskey on his breath, the familiar scrape of stubble against my jaw. It was everything I'd craved. When we finally broke apart, we were panting. his forehead pressed against mine, both of us too shaken to speak. "I'm not yours," he rasped. "You never stopped being mine," I replied, and he didn't deny it. We stood there a while just breathing each other in. The stars stretched out above us like a map we couldn't read, and the campfire crackled in the distance, soft and steady. Whitney pulled back first, eyes glinting in the dark. I shouldn't have let that happen. "Why?" I asked. "You regret it?" He looked away. "No, but that don't mean it's right." We walked again, slower this time, our arms brushing every now and then like the air between us couldn't decide if it was finished. Eventually, he veered off toward an old downed log and sat. I followed without a word. He sighed, running a hand down his thigh. "You ever hear a sound that changes your whole life?" he asked. I glanced sideways. "Can't say I have." "I did," he muttered, "when my knee popped. Rodeo finals in Arizona. Crowd screaming, adrenaline pounding in my ears. And then, crack. My throat tightened. He didn't stop. I knew the second I hit the dirt, I'd never ride again. Felt it. Not just in the knee, deep in my bones, like part of me got ripped out. "Whit," I started, but he held up a hand. "I ain't done." He stared ahead, jaw working. After that, I went home, tried physical therapy, rehab, all of it. Didn't matter. It was over. I was 23, broke, busted up, and still had to feed my mama, keep Danny out of jail, get April to school. I ain't just the big brother, Clyde. I'm the breadwinner, the babysitter, the damn foundation. I ain't had time to miss you. That one stung, but I deserved it. "I didn't come back because I wanted you to forget all that," I said. "I came back because I'm tired of forgetting how it felt to be alive when I was with you." He looked at me then, and his expression flickered, confused, maybe hopeful, but guarded. "And there's something else," I added, raking a hand through my hair. "Something I need to tell you, about me, about who I am." His brow furrowed. "But not yet," I said quickly. "When the time's right." Whitney gave a humorless laugh. "You always were dramatic." "Yeah, and you always hated sentiment. Still wore the bracelet I gave you, though." His eyes widened. "You saw that?" "Hard to miss." He shook his head, but a tiny smile tugged at his mouth. We sat there in silence again, the weight of old wounds and unsaid things stretching out between us. But it was different this time. Less jagged, like maybe, just maybe, we could learn to carry it together. And in that quiet, just before we headed back, I whispered, "You never stopped being my dream, Whit." He didn't say anything, but he didn't leave either. By the time we got back to camp, the fire had burned low, glowing like an ember caught between sleep and waking. I didn't say anything as we approached, and neither did Whitney. He just kicked at a pine cone and muttered something under his breath about needing a beer. I watched him go, and then, like the universe just couldn't let me have a moment, Debbie popped up out of nowhere with a marshmallow skewer and that crap-eating grin she wore like perfume. "Well, well, well," she drawled, eyes glinting as she pointed the stick at me. "You've got that freshly kissed glow, Clyde. What happened? Trip and fall into your ex's mouth?" I rolled my eyes. "Drop it, Deb." "Oh, no, no. This is my favorite soap opera, and I live here now." Kyle walked over, holding 2 beers, and raised a brow. "She's been speculating for 20 minutes straight." "Speculating?" I asked. Kyle passed me a beer. "There was a bet you'd either kiss him or punch a tree. She put $20 on both." Debbie nodded proudly. "Dual outcomes. Best odds." "You're both a pain in my ass," I muttered. "But we love you," Debbie said, clinking her beer to mine. "Now listen, if you want that boy to stay, and don't act like you don't, then you need to give him a reason. Not just lust or whatever weird psychic stallion bonding bull you've got going on. Something real." I blinked. "You giving relationship advice now?" She shrugged. "Sure am." Turns out when you're not being a dick, you're actually kind of lovable. Plus, I've got a stake in this. If Whitney stays, I get to see your cold, emotionally constipated ass melt." Kyle laughed. "It's already starting. Saw him smile earlier. Thought the world was ending. Both of y'all need hobbies." "Yeah, we had one," Kyle said with a wink. "It was making sure your mopey self didn't walk off a cliff when you thought Whitney was gone for good." Debbie leaned in. "So, you ready to stop hiding behind duty and laws and tell him who you are?" I hesitated. She softened. "You don't have to say everything. Just let him feel it. Let him feel like he belongs." Kyle added, "He ain't like us, Clyde. He's used to carrying weight no one sees. Maybe he just needs to know he's not alone anymore." That shut me up, because damn it, they were right. It started with little things, sharing breakfast at dawn while the rest of the pack slept, fixing the damn busted axle on Kyle's truck while Whitney cussed up a storm, and I pretended I didn't find it cute as hell. One night he fell asleep on my shoulder by the fire, and no one said a word. Debbie just smiled into her beer. We spent more and more time together, talking, laughing. God, I forgot how easy it was to breathe around him. Like my ribs weren't iron bars anymore. He was quick with a joke, stubborn as ever, and always halfway ready to run. But each day, he lingered longer. Not everyone was thrilled, especially not my mother. She'd stop talking when Whitney walked by, lips pressed thin as fence wire. One morning she yanked me aside and whispered, "You're being reckless, Clyde." "He's not what you think," I told her. "He's not one of us," she snapped. But I didn't care. I was done letting fear steer the reins. I started introducing Whitney to more folks in the pack. Ezra, the smith, Clara, our old healer, the twins Joel and Jesse, who took to him like puppies to a bone. He was hesitant at first, that polite nod and smile thing he did. But it didn't take long before he was pitching in with firewood, helping Debbie with inventory, even letting Kyle teach him. One afternoon we were sitting by the river. I was skipping stones. He was lying on the grass, arm over his face, squinting at the sun. "You ever gonna tell me how it works?" he asked. I glanced at him. "How what works?" "The shifting, the horses. You all just bolt out of your boots and go full Mustang or what?" I smirked. "Something like that." He turned his head, eyes on mine. "Seriously?" I sat up, brushing grass off my jeans. "We ain't like wolves or tigers. Our bond's older. The first stallion shifters came from these plains, before there were fences. They say the wind chose us. Spirits of the land gifted certain bloodlines with strength, speed, and the ability to change when the herd was in danger." "Danger from what?" "Mountain lions, men, fire. The old stories are all different, but the point's the same. We don't shift for sport. We shift when we're needed, to protect, to run, to carry someone home." Whitney was quiet for a while. "That's beautiful," he said finally. "It's duty," I replied, "and it's pain. When we shift, it ain't like the wolves. Our bodies stretch, break, reform. You gotta want it." "Damn," I chuckled. "Yeah, damn." He looked down at his bad leg and flexed the knee. "Think I could ever do it?" I looked at him long and hard. "You don't have to shift to be one of us, Whit." "I wasn't asking if I had to. I was asking if I could." And I swear something fluttered in my chest then, something old and sacred, like the first crack of thunder over a dry plain. "You might," I said softly, "if the herd calls you." It was one of the older RVs, Kyle's beat-up hunk of junk with a busted water tank and a fuse box that could have doubled as a death trap. We'd barely gotten 10 minutes into the drive when the damn thing coughed, shuddered, and wheezed itself into an early grave on the side of the gravel road. "God damn it," Kyle muttered, kicking the tire. "We don't have time for this," I said, dragging a hand over my face. Whitney hopped down from his seat in the back truck and jogged over, his gait only slightly off, knee stiff but determined. "Pop the hood," he said, already rolling up his sleeves. I blinked. "You know what's wrong?" "I've got a few ideas," he said, squinting as steam hissed from the engine. "Get me the tool roll." I did, and for the next hour I played assistant while Whitney worked with the kind of focus I remembered from high school shop class. Grease streaked his jaw, sweat dampened the collar of his shirt until he peeled it off and tossed it to the ground, revealing a sun-kissed muscular torso that had me biting the inside of my cheek just to focus. "Rag?" he asked, hand stretched out. I handed it to him, trying not to stare, trying and failing. His chest rose and fell as he leaned over the engine, forearms flexing, hands moving with skilled confidence. There was something feral in me that wanted to grab him right there and slam him against the side of the RV. Instead, I watched. My mouth went dry. The sun caught on the curve of his shoulder blade and the thin trail of sweat running down his spine. My throat tightened. Every brush of our hands sent heat prickling down my neck. "You okay?" he asked, glancing at me. His shy smile was a knife straight to my gut, that same crooked grin that used to knock me flat in high school. Only now it belonged to a man who was stronger, scarred, and somehow more mine than ever before. "Yeah," I croaked, handing him another wrench. "Just remembering stuff." "Good stuff?" "The best." We fixed the RV, mostly him, but I liked being needed, even if it was just passing tools and holding the flashlight steady while the others stood around pretending they weren't eavesdropping. Later, after things quieted and the engines rumbled back to life, I slipped away from camp. The night wind was cooler than I liked, but the stars were out in full, wide and bright over the open plains. I walked until the noise of the campfire faded behind me, until I reached the old rocky outcropping we used to hide behind as kids. I didn't look back. I didn't have to, because I felt him behind me, that invisible string between us pulling tighter with every step he took. When Whitney rounded the corner of the cave, shirt slung over one shoulder, I met him halfway. I didn't say a word. I kissed him like I'd waited 10 years to breathe, because I had. He gasped into my mouth, hands going to my hips as mine found the hot stretch of his back. His skin was damp and salty from sweat and sun and effort, and I couldn't get enough of it. My hands roamed over his chest, his arms. Every scar and freckle burned into my memory like a map leading home. "Clyde," he whispered, breath hitching. "Shut up," I muttered against his mouth. "Let me." He didn't fight it. Not this time. He melted under me, lips parting, bodies colliding like we were made for this. My pulse roared in my ears. The feel of him, solid, familiar, burning hot against me, undid me completely. I pressed him to the cave wall, kissed him deeper, one hand braced beside his head, the other gripping his waist like he might disappear if I let go. He moaned softly, and it drove me wild. I was desperate to have him, to mount him, to finally claim the man I never stopped wanting. He was mine. He'd always been mine, and I wasn't letting go again. Tonight he'd be mounted by the Stallion. Chapter 6. The Stallion. The morning air was cool, biting with that edge of late autumn that warned of coming snow. My boots crunched over dry pine needles and frostbitten dirt as we stepped out of the tree line. The fire pit was still burning low from the night before, smoke curling in lazy threads into the pale sky. The others were already stirring, some packing gear, some feeding the horses. Whitney stayed close beside me, a step behind like he didn't want to be seen first. His cheeks were pink, but not from the cold. He was still flushed from the bond, from the knot, from everything that had happened between us in that cave. The scent of me was thick on him, and I didn't care who caught it. I did. I wanted them to catch it. Let them smell that he was mine now. A few heads turned as we crossed into camp. Seth raised a brow but said nothing. June gave a quick glance at Whitney's neck and looked away, respectful or maybe just stunned. Even Rex, one of the older trackers, blinked at us like we'd returned different people. And we had. But I didn't expect her to come out so fast. "Clyde!" Her voice hit me like a whip. "Meredith!" She stormed from the side tent, hair half braided like she'd been too agitated to finish. Her boots were unlaced, and the red in her cheeks wasn't from wind. It was rage. "You were gone all night," she hissed, eyes cutting straight to Whitney. "With him. You didn't even come back for the shift change. The north ridge was exposed." I stopped walking and turned to face her, shoulders squared. "We weren't that far. I could smell the camp the whole time." Her lip curled. "You smell like him." "I'd hope so," I said. That's when it hit. Her expression twisted like she'd swallowed something foul. Her hands clenched at her sides. "You bonded with him," she said. "You bonded with that." Whitney stiffened. I stepped in front of him. "Watch yourself." No, you watch yourself, Clyde. What the hell is wrong with you? You were supposed to—" She broke off, spinning to the left. "Debbie, say something." Debbie was sitting by the fire, sharpening her knife with a steady rhythm. She didn't even look up. "What exactly do you want me to say, Mare?" "That this is sick, that it's wrong. He was supposed to be with you." Now Debbie looked up and laughed. Not mean, just tired. "Oh, honey," she said, dragging the blade slowly along the whetstone. "We were never like that. We're friends. That's all we've ever been." "You could have been more," Meredith snapped. Debbie shrugged. "He didn't want more. And I sure as hell don't want someone who doesn't want me back." Then she turned her gaze full on Meredith. "And if he wants Whitney, then that's his damn business, not yours. Grow up." Meredith's mouth opened and closed, her face turning redder with each second. "You can't seriously be okay with this. It's unnatural." "Unnatural?" I echoed. "What exactly do you think we are, Mom? You think we're playing by human rules out here? He's my mate." She backed off, but her glare could have blistered bark. "You're making a mistake," she spat. "You're too blind to see what he really is. And when it comes back to bite you, don't come crying." I didn't answer her. I just reached back for Whitney's hand and led him toward the supply tent. Let the whole damn camp watch. Let them see whose scent was on my skin and whose heart beat in rhythm with mine now. "I knew it," Meredith huffed, eyes blazing with fury. "I knew you would destroy us all." Her shrill tone cut deep, shaking the camp. "The Orin are only as strong as the bloodlines. How can you produce with a human? He's not even an Omega. You've condemned us to death." She spat the words like poison. "Since high school I told you he was trash. Complete trash. Not for you. And yet here we are years later, picking up the dirt." "Dear, calm down." My dad tried to reach for her arm, but she was already beyond reason, practically feral. "You're no son of mine," Meredith snarled. In a blur, her body convulsed and shifted, fur rippling as she transformed into a massive, snarling gray mare. Her clothes shredded to tatters in the process. She charged, straight for Whitney. My stallion roared to life inside me, hot and wild and uncontrollable. I lurched forward without hesitation, ramming into her hard with the weight of my massive, muscled frame. Hooves struck dirt, kicking up earth and shattered branches. We bucked and kicked, a blur of fury and power, teeth bared, claws unsheathed. The air filled with neighs and snarls as we fought, wild and raw beneath the lowering sky. Suddenly a low, guttural snarl reverberated across the field, a sound that froze us both mid-battle, mountain lions. Their yellow eyes glinted from the shadows of the trees, sleek bodies stalking in with deadly intent. Their growls deepened, a chilling chorus that made every muscle in my body tighten. The fight between Meredith and me was forgotten, because now survival wasn't about family or bloodlines. It was about who could stand against the predators of the wild. We all shattered, the change ripping through us like wildfire. Muscles swelling, bones cracking and reshaping, power pulsing in every limb. The warriors surged forward, eyes like burning coals, teeth bared in snarls. The herd took off, hooves pounding the dirt hard and fast, racing for the shelter of the canyon's shadow. But in the heart of that wild storm, I lost Whitney. From the brush came the mountain lions, hellhounds from the dark, teeth bared and claws like knives honed to rip flesh clean to the bone. They leapt with a fury born of hunger, aiming for the throats of the horses. The horses were strong, sturdy beasts bred to run and fight, but no stallion could match the savage hunger in those eyes. "Run!" I screamed. "All who can't fight, get out of here, now!" Claws slashed, fur tore, and screams broke free. One cat locked its jaws on a mare's neck, teeth sinking deep, blood spraying like a crimson banner as she reared and fought for breath. Another slashed a wide gash across a flank, muscle shredded beneath furious strikes. Where the hell was Whitney? Then a roar shattered the night, the guttural growl of an engine, the crackle of power breaking through the wild. There he was, Whitney, tearing across the dirt on the plains. He grabbed a coil of rope from the back of the truck, old worn leather, tough as a rattler's hide, and whipped it around like a lasso in a rodeo ring. The rope flew through the air, tightening around a mountain lion's neck with a snap like a gunshot. The beast growled, desperate, but Whitney yanked hard and fast. Neck snapped, body hit the ground with a heavy thud. No time to pause. Rope whipped again, catching another cat mid-pounce. Whitney moved like a man possessed, every throw raw with desperate fury. Blood soaked the dust. The air was thick with sweat and fear, fur and iron tang of fresh wounds. We fought tooth and nail, claws raked, teeth bit deep, hooves struck like hammers driving stakes into the earth. Still the mountain lions came, relentless and hungry as the devil himself. I knew I had to find Whitney before the night swallowed us whole. I was so focused searching for Whitney. I didn't see the shadows closing in until their snarls hit my ears like thunder. Mountain lions, 4 of them creeping in from every side, eyes blazing with cold hunger. The first one lunged for my neck, jaws snapping inches from my throat, teeth flashing like jagged knives. Another dove for my back, claws digging deep into flesh and sinew, raking down my spine with cruel burning slashes that left me trembling with pain. A third tackled my hind legs, sinking claws into muscle, tearing as I spun wild, desperate to shake the hell beasts off. Then the fourth, silent and quick as a rattlesnake strike, aimed for my mane, biting chunks of hair and flesh as I twisted and bucked, fury burning through every inch of me. I thrashed and twisted like a wounded stallion caught in barbed wire. Each movement a raw, vicious fight for survival. Claws ripped ragged wounds down my sides, hot blood slicking my fur, dripping in dark rivers onto the dirt. The pain was a red-hot brand, fire searing through muscle and bone, but I couldn't stop, couldn't slow. One of them sank teeth into my shoulder, a brutal grinding bite that tore through fur and flesh, cold shock exploding through my body. I felt the wet, metallic taste of blood flooding my mouth and nose as I kicked with all the force I had left, hooves striking, smashing ribs and sending one lion sprawling in a spray of blood and dust. Still more came. The air filled with snarls, growls, the sickening sound of flesh being torn. There was no way out. Only the brutal dance of claw and teeth, of survival carved from bone and blood. The night was alive with pain and fury, and I was caught in its merciless grip. Debbie charged in like a wild tempest, her powerful hooves pounding the earth, mane flying like a banner of fury. She reared high, lasso swinging in her hand, and with a fierce cry, she looped it tight around a mountain lion's neck. The beast yowled in shock as Debbie hauled back with all her strength, neck snapping like a dry branch under the unforgiving pull. For a moment, hope surged through me, but the mountain lions were relentless. Before Debbie could catch her breath, 3 snarling beasts leapt on her, claws slashing deep into her flanks and legs. She screamed, a wild, terrifying sound that shivered through the night. Teeth found her neck and bit down hard, tearing flesh from bone. Debbie stumbled, muscles trembling, blood spurting from wounds fresh and brutal. She fell to her knees, then collapsed fully, the fire in her eyes dimming as the life bled from her. I wanted to roar in rage and grief, but the fight pressed on. More lions circled Kyle, who struggled desperately against their savage grip. The ground soon soaked with his blood, his cries silenced under their brutal attack. The world narrowed to claws tearing, hooves pounding, blood staining the dust, a savage dance of survival where mercy had no place. Then, a triumphant sound. I whipped around, heart pounding, to see my mother charging through the fray. Fear blazed in her eyes, her gray fur shredded and bloodied, torn ragged by the claws of the mountain lions. "Run!" she screamed. "Run, Clyde! You must lead the herd. You must!" "Clyde!" Whitney's voice cracked, frantic as he spun in place, dust kicking up in a whirlwind. Lions were tearing at the truck, slashing, bending the metal like paper, their snarls drowning out everything else. "We gotta move!" "No!" "Run, honey!" Meredith's voice broke through, trembling with fierce love. "I love you." Then she charged, an enormous force barreling straight into the snarling lions, hooves crashing like cannonballs. She kicked and stomped, flinging a few of the beasts off me, buying precious seconds. They lunged at her with savage hunger, claws ripping open her flesh in deep, ragged gashes. Blood sprayed in sick, wet arcs, soaking the dirt and splattering the plains like crimson rain. Her screams tore through the night, raw and broken, as teeth sank deep into her throat, ripping and shredding with brutal, unrelenting force. I stood frozen, helpless, as in seconds the horror unfolded, a living nightmare made flesh. My mother torn apart, devoured alive before my eyes, her body crumpling like broken leather, soaked in gore, a twisted ruin in the blood-soaked dust. The world went silent, except for the wet, sickening sounds of flesh being torn and the savage growls of the mountain lions, victors in a brutal fight for survival. Whitney's terrorized scream shattered the haze of my pain, cutting through the chaos like a whip crack. I saw them, 3 mountain lions perched on the truck's roof, claws sunk deep into the metal, snarling with wild hunger. I didn't hesitate. The dry grass split beneath me as I charged, hooves cracking roots like brittle bones, rage surging through my veins like fire. I lowered my head, barreled into the side of the truck with a bone-jarring slam, then reared up with a shrill battle cry. My front hooves crashed down on the first lion, sending it flying off the roof with a sickening thud. Another sprang toward me, too slow. I twisted and kicked, my hind legs connecting with a crack that split the air. The beast tumbled end over end, yowling in pain. The last one hissed and leapt for me, but a quick sidestep and a brutal stomp crushed it mid-air. I wheeled around, snorting, flank heaving. "Go!" I screamed, not with words, but with a shriek of rage. Whitney slammed the truck into gear, tires spinning as he tore away down the dirt path. I galloped after him, blood hot and body shaking. I didn't know if I was running from the fear or toward it. But one thing was certain. I wouldn't let them take him. Not while I could still fight. Mother, Debbie, Kyle, all gone. Swallowed by the claws and teeth of those beasts. My eyes burned with the sting of dust and tears, blurring the horizon as we chased the fading dust clouds of the herd ahead. We ran and ran, muscles screaming, lungs burning, my heart squeezed so tight it felt like it might shatter. But I had to keep going. I had to survive. For Whitney, for the herd, for what was left of us. We run and run and run. Adrenaline pounding in my veins, driving me forward like a wild stallion with no reins. But then the truck sputters, coughs, finally gives up, a pitiful, choking death in a smoking heap. Whitney's door flies open the second it dies. He's out and I'm shifting back, collapsing, a broken, crumpled mess, head first into his arms. "It's okay, Clyde, it's okay. I got you," he breathed. I clawed at him, fingers digging deep into his skin, shaking, crying. "She's gone. Whitney, she's gone." The weight of it crashed down, Mother, Debbie, Kyle, everything ripped away in hours. "I'm here, Clyde. I love you," he whispered fiercely against my ear. I swallowed hard, fighting back the raw ache. The herd isn't far off, the ground buckled in their wake, hooves battering the earth like a drum beat for war. But inside, my stomach twisted, a knot of fear, loss, and the burning need to keep fighting. It was dark now. Shadows crept like cold fingers into the forest and over the high plains. I couldn't stop crying. The tears wouldn't quit. They burned my cheeks and dripped down my chin, but I couldn't stop. Whitney held me tighter, crushing me to his chest like I might shatter if he let go. "It's not safe," I whispered. "Not here." A crack of a branch snapped in the silent dark. I whipped my head up, heart hammering, and stared into the forest's black maw. A Stallion stepped through the trees, and I almost cried in relief. The bull stood tall, his muscular body coiled tight, ready for a fight. But then his eyes widened in shock as he took me in, drenched in blood, trembling, clutching Whitney like a lifeline. "Clyde," he breathed. Then his nostrils flared. "A human." Before I could answer, thunder rolled in, heavy, deep, approaching fast. I spun just in time to see the pack. What was left of them, battered and broken, finally stepped forward. 2 wolves appeared behind a Stallion, their eyes glowing with fierce welcome. The noble wolf pack. We made it, but my chest felt tight, like my heart was caught in my throat. I couldn't breathe. We made it, yes, but at what cost? End Part 1.